I'm breaking down the exact process that I took to build my clientele and telling my story of shooting high school football games the first time in 2019. And by the end of the season, I shot the final game of the Jacksonville Jaguars regular season. So it all starts here. I had a 90D Canon with a 70 to 300 millimeter lens. I have come back from college and I'm working part-time as a marketing intern going to school. I'm currently trying all of these side hustles to try to make extra money. And I got asked to go shoot a game by a family friend. And as I'm shooting that game, the team that they're playing against, they asked me, they say, hey, who are you shooting for? You know, who are you shooting for, a magazine or whatever? I'm basically just asked me to get some pictures of them as well. And I'm like, sure. Now, keep in mind, this is 2019. Social media in high school sports had not really taken off like it has now. There are guys out there on the fields right now that are making like $500 to like $700 a game. Like they are killing it. I am charging $1 a photo and $5 for all the photos. So now I have two teams. You kind of have to put on your marketing hat to kind of see what happens next. Because at that point, I realized that the math was simple to begin to make some extra money. I take pictures, let's say 20 athletes post me and they tag me. Let's say the average one has, we'll say 1,000 followers per player. And obviously some kind of overlap and everything, but we'll just kind of keep it easy. Let's say 20 of them post. I honestly, I would reach probably 10,000 people from that one football game. 10,000 or more people could see my work. And at this point, I got into hyperdrive mode. And this would become basically the busiest 3 years of my life. I realized that as a marketing intern, I was making around $13 an hour working. Well, I was working around 15 hours per week. I was going to school full time on a full class schedule, which I was honestly spending around 20 hours per week. And then, you know, I was spending about 8 hours a night sleeping. So that was 56 hours in a week. So I was left with 77 hours to do whatever I wanted to do. And I don't know if I necessarily did that math right, but you know, keep going with me. So I went really deep into this photography side hustle. Mondays, I would get up at 6, work out, and then I would go to work from, you know, 7:45 to 5 p.m. And then from 5:30 to 8 p.m., I would go usually shoot a volleyball game. Those were a lot of times on Mondays. Tuesdays, I had classes all day. And, you know, I won't lie. At this point, I wasn't studying as much as I probably should have. But then afterwards, I would go shoot the middle school football game that started at 5 p.m. and shoot that till 7:30. Then Wednesdays, I was back at work and I would work till 5, then sprint over to either a volleyball game or go to a training session or middle school football game. Then the money starts kicking in because Thursday night meant that JV football started at 6. And so I would work, rush over to JV football game and shoot that, and then I'd have the pictures ready the next day. Then Friday night was the night. This was high school football and we are in Florida in Duval County. Friday night was the moneymaker. I would work and then I would have high school football that night. The next morning though, I would usually try to be shooting with a trainer, and then Sunday I would usually be booking personal photo shoots with either new contacts or athletes or anybody that I had already began to get in contact with. But the big thing is at this point, I didn't know what it was for, but every game I went out to try to build a connection with somebody. And here's the funny thing is I actually wasn't supposed to be there. See, what I didn't tell you was that whenever I would go and shoot the game, I would actually sneak in. The faculty, the school, the athletic program didn't know who I was. I would go online, find the school's logo and take it to Photoshop and put it onto a media pass. And then I would put it into a laminated holder, and then I would go hand them the media pass and I would look as confident as possible. At the time, I had my little company name on it. It was called Real Time Media. Get in the game, I would shoot everything, but then I would DM the school, the news channel, and I would donate my footage for them that they can use for that week's highlights. So I'm talking as if I know that I knew what I was talking about to these schools, and eventually they would let me on the sidelines. But while I'm out there, you know, again, you're focused on making connections. And while I was out there, I was meeting guys like Nathan Bloomberg, who he's now in LCC and literally every team down there in Tampa. And he also has a YouTube channel, so y'all be sure to go check out any of his stuff. Another guy like Aaron Berkshire, who's an absolute beast in basically anything photography or videography related. You know, he also has a YouTube channel. Y'all go check it out. I met a guy named, you know, Mike Jennings, who I just thought was this cool guy named Mike, but he had won a Super Bowl with the Giants and at one point was like one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Like he raced Terrell Owens. So I would just meet all these really cool, interesting people on the sidelines. And the these connections would turn to friendships. And I did this the entire football season. But again, I didn't know what for. I just knew I wanted to grow my network. But then one day I get offered to shoot the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was for a magazine, you know, here in town, and I shot a ton of free stuff for them. And very randomly they needed someone and they asked me. So me and my good friend Eli, we get to go to the very final game of the season. And I'll show some pictures right here, but you can tell how good our equipment is by these pictures. And I by far had the smallest camera rig, you know, on the field, probably by like $5,000, $10,000. But it was honestly such an amazing experience. And it all happened because, you know, I won't lie, I worked as hard as I could to get experience and connections and learn in an industry that I was falling in love with. So here's something I really want to bring up. During the story, during my first year, at least half of my shoots were free. The reason I got that connection to the Jaguars was because of free shoots. I don't think I charged over $100 for the paid ones either. I was doing $5 a player, or I would do like $65 for the entire team. I didn't know the opportunity that I would have at the end of the season. I just knew that during the season, movement creates action, and that sitting around wasn't going to do anything. And everybody else was waiting to have somebody call them about photo shoots. I went out and just found the work. And looking back, doing that work that I never really saw something coming from it, those often led to open doors. Instead of just taking the pictures after the game, I went and DM'd every single Jaguar player. Eli did too, and we built these connections with the Jaguar players. And then when COVID hit, we were out there being able to shoot them, and then I met more connections through that, and friendships began to develop. So I really want to hit on that. Yes, I had this great opportunity, but it would never have happened if I didn't at least put myself out there. The farmer doesn't know when the rain is going to come, but what he does know is that if he doesn't plant anything or prepare anything, even if the rain and the opportunity comes, there's going to be no fruits to bear.